This was made using MV Play's insights. What they have done for England and New Zealand Test players, they can do for club cricket as well. But I'm going to assume you've never heard of Ted Pooley.
I have never, ever heard of Ted Pooley.
I think it's safe to say that these days, what we would call him would be a character. He did make an awful lot of money betting and umpiring on the same game. And he was either on bail or in jail back in New Zealand at this time. He didn't know at the time that he actually missed out on a test match because no one knew that was a test match. My question is, does this qualify as stupid cricket? Behram, so we have another stupid cricket for you here. This one involves an England team touring New Zealand. One of their players was called Ted Pooley. He was a wicketkeeper. He had a 20-year first-class career, 370 games.
Wow.
But I'm going to assume you've never heard of Ted Pooley.
I have never, ever heard of Ted Pooley.
Things you need to know about him: loved to drink, loved to gamble. There were he was missing 3 front teeth.
Okay.
From apparently being attacked at Lord's at one stage. I don't know how many people have ever been. There was another one where he was suspended for being drunk. There was allegations of him betting on games he was involved in and all sorts of things. I think it's safe to say that these days, what we would call him would be a character.
Yeah. Well, he would definitely get kicked out in the current system.
He probably wouldn't have lasted very long in the current system. So during that tour of New Zealand for England, Ted Pooley had injured his leg. And because of that, he didn't stay with the touring party. He went ahead.
Okay.
So I think they were in Auckland or Wellington, and he went up to Canterbury on his own. And of course, he couldn't play. So the locals there were like, well, you're here and you know a lot about cricket. Can we get you to umpire the Christchurch versus Canterbury game? Right? The problem was that there was a local surveyor called Ralph Donkin, who was not a bookmaker, right?
Okay.
He was a surveyor, but he thought to himself, well, there's some money to be made here. So I'm gonna run the local book during this big game. So he offered 20 to 1 for anyone who could pick the exact score of a batter in this match. What would, if you, without any more information that I've given you so far, what would you bet on as an exact score in a cricket match?
Probably a duck for someone.
So, I love that you said that. I love that so much. Ted Pooley, knowing as much about cricket as Behram does, decided to put a shilling on every single batter to make a duck. Now, it gets better. Canterbury had 25 players, right? So there was a not law, and he knew that if you have 25 players, it means your team's not very good, right?
Yeah.
He also knew that, you know, the standard of batting at that period and the pitches and everything else, and I think that wicket wasn't supposed to be particularly good. So he knew that there was a huge chance there was going to be a lot of ducks, right?
So wait, if you have a total of 22 players playing, right?
25, no, there's more than that. There was 25 on one team.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was a thing.
So in the old days, what you would do is you would handicap teams. So if you thought Christchurch was good, they might get 11 or 15 players.
Oh.
The opposition might get 20, 25, 30 in some cases.
So if I put a shilling on each of those players getting a duck, I have, you know, the odds are pretty good that 2 or 3 will, and then I make more money.
We think at the very least it's what, 30, 35 players that he's put money on, right? So yes, you're right. We haven't factored in, maybe it was a second innings game as well. Who knows? But yeah, so it makes even more sense to do that. Remember, though, that Ted Pooley was asked to do something specific in this game. Do you remember what that was?
He was asked to umpire. Oh my God, is he going to doctor the scores? Is he going to give random people out for, like, no scores?
Canterbury had 11 ducks.
Wow.
So I don't know how much money he even put down, but he ended up winning 9 quid, which I'm assuming in his period was quite a lot for a shilling bet.
That's probably enough ducks to feed a village in New Zealand.
So no one seems to have suggested that Pooley umpired untowardly. And I reckon that's right, because I think he would be thinking to himself, I don't need to cheat this game, Behram, because I've already got everything in my favor. I'm going to get money anyway. Like if I start being dodgy and giving out LBWs or caught behinds or anything, they're going to be like, no, there's cheating going on. So I guess that he probably did do that. But the point is, he did make an awful lot of money betting and umpiring on the same game.
And if he was playing on that tour, he probably wouldn't have made nearly as much money.
He might have made more money off this than he did off anything else. You want to swing wildly at the internet like you've got the new pill in your hand, but you keep getting dead battered. Find the movement you want with NordVPN. They are our protection against terrifying cyber threats and wide-battered geo-blocks. NordVPN will help you get through any rights restrictions so you can watch all the cricket you want. We aren't always happy with the wickets we're on. Sometimes we need a change. NordVPN can switch your virtual location so your IP address is ready to cash in. So if you need to get around the internet's rules, or I suppose in our case laws, select NordVPN. They can help you watch a game on a cheaper stream in another country. Give NordVPN the ball and let them penetrate all your vast internet issues. Because if you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. You can also receive a 20GB daily data voucher. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a big hitter is coming for you at nordvpn.com/KIMBER right now. Now, remember our friend Mr. Donkin?
Yes.
The surveyor. How do you think he felt about the umpire betting and then getting all those ducks and making all that money off him?
Probably not very good, right? Because he's the one who's at a loss.
Probably a big loss too.
Yes.
And if you're a bookmaker, you probably expect to make money at most of those things. So it wasn't particularly ideal from that point of view.
Also, do we know out of all the 11 ducks, how many of them were LBW or caught by the keeper?
I don't know if I've got the full scorecard of this game. I'd have to go back and have a look. But I don't think... I'm taking the word of everyone at the ground that said he was umpiring normally as fact. I'd like to think he wasn't because that makes the story even funnier. But in this case, it doesn't seem like it. So Mr. Donkin refuses to pay.
Okay.
He of course, then Pooley, being the sort of man we talked about before, attacks Ralph Donkin.
Loses another teeth or tooth, sorry.
Probably trying to bite him. Threatens to kill him. A Dunedin magistrate then decides that he started the fight. And he fines him £5. But by this time, Donkin wants vengeance on Pooley, and so he lays another charge that Pooley had willfully and maliciously destroyed his property, which means that he has to go to court, and of course he can't leave the country.
Wow.
Right? Now, this is where it gets fun. So in order for that trial to happen, it's not like, you know, you get done one day and the next day it goes to trial. This thing takes weeks and forever. So the England team eventually comes via where he is. Then they leave the country because this is one of those tours where you tour New Zealand.
And then go to Australia.
And then you go to Australia. So England then ends up playing in Australia in what was called the International Cricket Match. Now, do you know what this means?
The International Cricket
That's
Match?
what it was billed at, like on the posters and on the tickets. It said the International Cricket Match.
What year was this again?
I'm not going to tell you what year.
Okay, because it might precede Test cricket?
It was not preceding Test cricket. The International Cricket Match, Behram, was the first Test match ever played.
Oh!
And so Ted Pooley was supposed to be the wicketkeeper in the first Test match that was ever played, and he was either on bail or in jail back in New Zealand at this time. Now, because of that, of course, the wicket that they played the first Test on was a bit of a dog itself. And it meant that the England wicketkeeper could barely stop the ball because they weren't a wicketkeeper because their wicketkeeper was back home. And so it didn't help the England team in any way at all. Now, while this is all happening, the trial in New Zealand takes weeks to happen. One of the problems was that, weirdly enough, a lot of the witnesses left New Zealand. And so they weren't all in the country to even come and do that. But eventually they get enough witnesses there and they find Ted Pooley
innocent.
Correct.
Because if I was the one who was judging this trial, I would look at the mode of dismissal. And if there are a lot of bowls and caughts, then automatically I would be like, this guy wasn't rigging the game.
But to remember, he wasn't charged with match fixing either. He was charged with maliciously ruining the guy's stuff. And I think what the magistrate would have said was, well, you didn't pay him.
Also, those are terrible odds to give out.
20 to 1.
20 to 1, and they're obviously going to be at least 2 ducks.
Anything under 10, I would have thought that is just absolutely crazy bookmaking. Okay, so he's found not guilty. At this stage, he's so popular in that area that they have a whip around and they end up giving him 50 quid and a gold watch when he leaves the country, right? Ted Pooley was 35 years old at this point. He never got picked for another England team ever again. And he was tracked down way later when he was broke and destitute. And the cricket writer Alfred Poulin found him and said that his hands were now just like lumps of deformity because 370 first-class games. Can you imagine what the gloves were like back in those days for a wicketkeeper? And sadly, Pooley died bankrupt and broken, forgotten by his teammates, and also, most importantly, laughed at as the guy who missed Test cricket. But here's my fun fact. He didn't know at the time that he actually missed out on a test match because no one knew that was a test match.
Yeah.
So it's only years later that he found out he missed out on the first test match because he was arrested on something.
I mean, it was billed as the international cricket match, and Australia wasn't even a nation.
I don't think it was till the late 1800s that they decided that all the first test... Well, don't worry, we'll get to that for another stupid cricket, because that story is crazy as well. But it wasn't for a long time that they decided which games were test matches and not. So at that stage, Ted Pooley was like, well, that's a bit annoying. I was in jail for a while and I had to be bailed out. I had to wait for witnesses and everything.
I mean,
but it's only later he finds out that not only was he screwed over on that tour, but he also missed out on the first ever test match.
Did he at least make the money?
Well, he made 50 quid, didn't he? So he made more money from the whip around than he did from the original bet. So
and he got a gold watch. So, I mean, there are phases in this story where Ted Pooley comes out as a winner, but the gambling habit probably didn't help him in the end.
Well, it does say in my notes that he died bankrupt and broken as a man. So maybe the gambling got to him. My question is, does this qualify as stupid cricket?
This is the essence of the show. This is why we do stupid cricket, because we get to know about stories like Ted Pooley's. And
did you just walk in front of the camera?
Did I?
Would you say...
No, I can fix it.
No, because when did he go, though?
No, I know how to do it.
Go.
And bring these stories to you guys as well to enrich your experience.
This is stupid cricket.
Yep.
Oh,
Stupid cricket. Stupid cricket.
this is stupid cricket.
Sorry. I meant the wackiest monkey.
Do you realise we're recording now? You're supposed to be silent and not on camera. You're not even checking the camera.
Yeah, I am.